Hello, lovelies. Well, did you miss me? I was gone because I was doing the Women of Wisdom conference. And I'm doing this on the wrong mic for a reason, and I'll explain why in a minute. But I'm kind of in PTSD, and so this might be a moment for me to process some of the things that just happened over the last few days. So I apologize in advance if this is rambling, but something happened to me, and I didn't know that it could happen. I mean, I intellectually understood it, which is different, but I did not know. For all my babbling on about the invisible realm, the higher realms, the ephemeral realms, the fact of the matter is that I did not know. And this really came into focus for me yesterday. I was talking to a friend of mine, Thomas Joseph Brown. He is simply one of the smartest people in the world. He's so smart that when I say to him, can you please tell me what you're trying to tell me in like baby language? It's still over my head. I only get about 80% of it. This man is so freaking smart. It hurts. He's so smart that he understands the cosmological influences on Earth, like why and how the planets actually affect us. And when he tries to explain to me how he understands all of this, he talks about Goethe. Now, he's talked to me about Goethe before, and as inaccessible as Thomas Joseph Brown has been to me, Goethe has seemed impenetrable. And one way of getting to Goethe is actually through Rudolf Steiner. Rudolf Steiner integrated Goethe's scientific method into his own. And so I'm like, maybe I can access Goethe through Steiner. And for those of you who have read Steiner, you will know that Steiner is not the most accessible either. But after my conversation with Thomas Joseph Brown yesterday, I decided, look, I'm going to just sit there until I get some of it anyway. Because I'm exhausted, I decided to lay down in bed and put on a video of Steiner talking about Goethe. And I think I finally got something, and it's relevant to my current state of PTSD, and it's relevant to so much of what we see in the world. I think it's really important. So I'm going to try to explain to you what I understood, which might be completely and absolutely wrong because, as I said, my comprehension on this material was so low. But what I got made sense to me, and it might make sense to you. So here goes on my crappy microphone. I hope you can hear me. So what's the deal with my mic? Well, let me tell you, in the 2 weeks around the Women of Wisdom conference, first of all, our main Magical Egypt site was hacked 3 times. It was hacked so badly that people couldn't get in. They couldn't watch their videos. And at one point, just before the conference, I stayed awake for 24 hours trying to get the system back up. And lots of people lost their accounts, and it was a big nightmare. You can imagine it's not cheap to buy Magical Egypt, and then you want to watch it, damn it. So you can understand that I had lots of angry people to deal with just before the conference opened. And then my mic blew up, and the laptop that I was going to use for the conference exploded, and then my pool broke, And then my air conditioning broke, which is really life-threatening in the weather that I'm currently experiencing. And then I met a beautiful stray dog, and I gave him a good pat and promptly infected both of my eyes with a terrible infection. And then I don't know if I want to involve myself in this, but the fact of the matter is that one of my dear friends and a early donor to the Magical Egypt Kickstarter passed away, which was a very, very, very sad occurrence. And then my power went out when we were going to be talking about magic, which was one of the roundtables that I was most looking forward to. And that was a complete mindfuck because the power had been out for about 4 hours. And then the power came back on just before the talk was about to take place. The power came up for just 2 minutes and then bang! The power exploded in our complex and it went out for another how many hours, I don't even know. I was asleep when it came back on. And to the point of the magic talk, we had Jade, Melanie, whose computer decided to blow up at that exact moment. So she was unable to attend. And Marla had misread her schedule. And so she woke up just in time to realize that she was missing it as well. So the magic talk, which was one of the highlights of the session, completely blew up. So that's a lot of things to happen in a very short amount of time for anybody. And because of all of that stress, I felt like I was dying the entire time. I think I gave up on makeup at about day 2. Because I just didn't have any energy left to actually deal with the conference because of dealing with all of these things. Oh, and then Zoom was just a complete nightmare. I was on support with Zoom for 4 hours trying to figure something out that never got figured out. And until the beautiful Marble, the lady who assisted me, actually figured it out. But that was causing a horrible situation because nobody could get in or find their tickets or watch their videos. And it was just an absolute clusterfuck, to be honest with you. And so we went on, but you can only do what you can do. I learned that the hard way. So what's interesting to me is that I was like, what the hell is going on here? Like, who has this many crises in such a short amount of time? I was completely flabbergasted. But Marla and Shauna and Tina weren't. And I kind of made a post on Facebook yesterday. And Thomas Sheridan's like, yeah, that's par for the course. And the point here is that I didn't know. I had no idea. And because I did not know what I was messing with, I did not know how to prepare for the repercussions of messing with the things that I did not know. And so that raised the whole question of how do we know things? And in many ways, what I understood from Steiner's talk on Goethe yesterday, I kind of intuitively grasped the concept of how do we know? But Goethe or Steiner explaining Goethe explained it in a way to me that brought some wonderful clarity to the situation. And it gave me a model of how one knows and how somebody else knows. And it kind of makes it useful in understanding the world around us. What Goethe apparently was trying to explain is that knowing involves a threefold process. And the first thing is the object that you are trying to understand. So if I said to you a glass of red wine, all of you in your mind's eye, I think, might be able to imagine a glass of red wine. And if there was a glass of red wine on the table, which is more to the point, that object, that independent object of a glass of red wine, you would see that with your organs of perception, and your organs of perception would create a precept, a perception of that object in your mind. And then down from inside of you would rise up the knowing of red wine, and you would say, it's red wine. So you have the object, the precept, which is the image of it in your mind, and then you have this thing, this inner knowing that rises up and tells you, yes, this is red wine. So in a big way, what you know is dependent on what is inside of you. Now, I learned this lesson recently because there was an image going around and it made me chuckle and it made me feel so smart. And I posted it so brashly because what this sculpture was imagine a white marble cylinder about 8 inches long and big enough to fit in the palm of your hand. And it was smooth and cool and white, and at one end, about an inch from the end, there was a slight ridge around the column. And more than that, at the very end of that column, close to the ridge, there was this slight indentation, like a very slight little hole and a dimple around that hole. And so I'm looking at this white piece of marble and I'm like, whoa, this is an ancient Egyptian dildo. And I was not alone in believing that that's what it was, because I saw the object and the object became a precept in my mind. And from deep down inside of me, inside of my knowing, came up the knowing because of things that I have previously seen and processed before, that this was obviously an ancient Egyptian dildo. Now, clearly that's TMI about me and my hobbies, if you will, but that's what I knew. I was so confident in this belief that I made a big deal about how archaeologists have no idea. They don't even know a dildo when they fall over one. And I gave myself quite chuckle and pat on the back because of my knowing. But I was wrong. And the reason that I was wrong is that I had never in my life before seen a white marble cucumber carved as an offering to the gods. And so even though the object was what it was, and the precept was a great representation of it, I collapsed in knowing what it was because I had never known that before. So how did this all relate to my current state of PTSD? You might wonder, well, for all of my babbling on about the higher realms, the truth of the matter is that I am a complete neophyte in these realms. I obviously know enough to be dangerous, and I know enough to want to know more, which is the exciting part of this equation. One of the things that came out very clearly in the Women of Wisdom conference is that our lives are so much richer for playing in these realms, for spending time in these realms, from healing within these realms, that when we die, those 10 most important moments of our lives often come from engaging with these realms. I knew that part. But what I didn't know is that just like in any realm, there are things you have to be careful of. And again, I did this big conversation last podcast about how my daddy had made a book about dangerous marine animals. Look, in retrospect, I think I was asking for it. I think I was absolutely asking for this lesson of mine. Because what happened during the Women of Wisdom conference, there is no material explanation for. I mean, look, everything was material, right? But the series of unfortunate events that unfolded for me just before and during the conference was something that obviously had its origin in other realms. And this is not just me saying this. I had Tina Kemp tell me this, and I had Marla Durden tell me this, and I even had Thomas Sheridan tell me this in retrospect. And just to make things even more friggin' crazy, we actually caught a photograph of a ghost in Tina Kemp's talk to prove that we had visitors from other realms visiting us. And I don't think you can get any clearer than that. And so for me, if we look at it in terms of Goethe's scientific method, I thought I was seeing something. I had the precept of what was happening in my head, and from inside of me, the knowing did not arise that this was interference from the other realms. And so I kept pushing, and the problems kept getting worse and worse because I had no internal knowing of how this happens. Now, Tina and Shauna and Mala and Thomas, because they spend more time in these realms, are very much acquainted. And they were like, oh, yeah, that's that. And to be honest with you, I am still even a little skeptical because this is my first engagement with the not so pleasant areas of the inner realms, the hidden realms. But because these people have done this before, and because these people have that information to rise up from inside of themselves, they're able to see clearly, that's a glass of red wine. Or, that's a white marble cucumber. And I think this is important because I had another conversation with a dear friend of mine. And with this particular person, we had discussions prior to the big jab, if you will, about how I was very skeptical. And I might have mentioned this before, but I am really skeptical of the medical establishment because the medical establishment killed my grandmother. The medical establishment blinded my father, and the medical establishment was unable to help my mother when she died. And so I had this deep inner knowing that the medical establishment is not perfect, that there is absolutely room to take anything they say under advisement. In fact, to be incredibly skeptical when they pose a solution to a problem. And so when there was this problem that the whole world faced and they came up with a solution, my internal knowing was one of, take it with a grain of salt. But unless you had lost a grandma and had a father being blinded and lost your mummy at the hands of medicine, then you would not have that knowing. You might have had the knowing that, you show up and they fix you. You might have the knowing of, hey, this has always helped me. And so when the object is this horrible situation and you bring it up into your head, and your inner knowing is always that you've been helped, you've been healed, then like a white marble cucumber, the idea that it could be anything other than a dildo seems laughable to you. This idea of how I know, how you know, how we all know things, I think, is worth deep contemplation. And as I've said before, when you talk about our materialist paradigm, and you talk about our reality tunnels, and you talk about AI algorithms pumping your heads full of the information that they want to know, what they're doing is they're creating your knowing space for you. And so when they pop something out in front of you, guess what's going to come up from inside? Obviously, the stuff that they've put there. And so then you know it deep inside your soul. You know that that's the truth. God damn it. And you're not going to hear anything contradictory, because it came from the inside. I think that is incredibly dangerous. Incredibly something we need to be aware of. We need to possibly check ourselves. We need to leave our hubris at the door. Because when we understand that our inner knowings come from the outside, from people that simply do not have our best interests, even if it's just from the point that they want us to buy their fucking soft drink, it's not necessarily true. It also gives me great sympathy or empathy, both really, for the people that did and do continue to believe because of this knowing that is rising out of them that is wrong. And it gives me forgiveness of myself and patience with myself, because I simply don't know everything, do I? Well, lovelies, I hope this has been a little bit helpful. We all have to learn through our own mistakes, though, don't we, darling? I can kind of point out the way, and Mara's like, we had 5 levels of protection on our event, girl. What are you thinking? Well, now I know. More soon, lovelies. Thank you for listening, lovelies. And if you like this podcast and would like to support us, please go to magicalegypt.com, and I have made a
special discount coupon just for you all. And the coupon code is LOVE. And that will get you $30 off any Magical Egypt purchase. Also, I've started Patreon, so you can mosey on over there and see if you want to contribute. But I appreciate you listening, and I appreciate all your support, and more soon.